Melvin Thompson. I'm the Executive Director of the Endeleo Institute. We are a member organization of Trinity United Church of Christ on the far south side of Chicago. Endeleo is a Swahili word for progress, growth, and development. And the mission of Endeleo is to actually strengthen existing assets in the Washington Heights community where we're located. One of those assets that we are looking to strengthen is our Trinity's Farmers Market. And today, my guest, our very first guest, I'm so pleased to have next to me, is none other than Dr. Terry Mason. He is the Chief Operating Officer of the Cook County Department of Public Health. If I read you his whole resume, that would be the end of the show, so I'm not going to do that, but I will interject from time to time all the wonderful things that he does in our community. And Terry, it's just great to have you here.
Melvin, I'm glad to be here.
Thank you so much. You know, earlier today I was looking at the history of farmers markets, and our farmers market, by the way, starts July 9th, this Saturday, from 8 a.m. to 1 p.m. at 95th and Normal. That's actually diagonally across the street from Trinity at 400 West 95th Street. And feel free, this is a hotline show, 312-738-1060. Call us with any questions about the market. But I was talking about earlier today, I said, when did the market actually come about? When did it really get its legs underneath it? And I did a little research, and I found out that in the early 80s, farmers markets started to evolve. And I'm going to date myself by saying that back in the 80s or the late 70s, I was in high school, and at that time I was a bag boy at a place called Hillman's Fine Foods. You have to be a certain age to know about Hillman's Fine Foods. You know about Hillman's? Okay. All right. So at least I got one person. But yeah, I was a bagger then, and it was the greatest job in the world. I had my own money. I was a junior, and it was wonderful. But shortly after that, I started to notice that stores were starting to evaporate. The Jewel in our Calumet Heights neighborhood relocated from 87th and Stony to 95th and Stony. And I thought, well, why would a grocery store that everybody is able to walk to, can walk to, be relocated out of the neighborhood and force everyone to drive in their cars? And so I wanted to ask you, Dr. Mason, was that just a coincidence, or the evaporation of the Jewel stores, the supplemental stores like Certified, A&P, and all of those stores, when they started to evaporate, it almost seems like that's when the farmers market started to emerge. Is that a coincidence, or do you think that was by design?
Well, I'm not really sure, but I can tell you that there's been a major change in the way that groceries are obtained by the regular persons. You know, I grew up a little bit before you, so I remember when many of the stores were neighborhood stores.
Sure.
And we've gone now to regional stores. So nowadays, you used to be able to walk to a location in your neighborhood for a reasonable sized store to get all the things that you needed.
Sure.
You didn't need to drive. But now, and then there was a corner store, a real corner store. That, not like what we have today, but was a full service store where they had because I used to be a butcher in one of those stores. And we had full produce section, a full meat section, we had all the things that you would need, and it was just less than a block away. So it's been a change. And I think that farmers markets, we kind of always sort of knew, not the way they are now. We used to go to 71st Street. I lived in Inglewood.
Right.
So we used to go to, and they had produce all down 71st Street.
Right, exactly.
On that strip.
Exactly.
And because there were so many of us, we used to buy our greens by the bushel. And you could go to those produce markets and buy your greens or your vegetables in large quantities. With 10 people, you know, buying a 5-pound bag of greens didn't get you very far.
Sure.
Then families shop together. So then you could leverage that bushel of greens, so you could take some and your uncle could take some, and so it worked out better.
Yeah, and it's amazing that given today's landscape, that the farmers market seems much more salient and much more prominent now given the landscape of those other stores disappearing, the presence, and there are not that many farmers markets in our communities, that their importance can't be underlined any greater.
Right, and I think that the other part to that is that if we're not careful, we're going to be losing soon the generation of people who know what it is to go to a farmer's market and who knows what it is they're buying from a farmer's market, and then they know what to do with it when they get it home to make it a meal.
Great point. You know, were they necessarily designed for lower income folks? Because I seem to recollect that they were for like middle class and upper households at the time, that they weren't as prevalent in communities where folks were doing not so well, but now they seem to be more. It seems like the initial beginning of farmers markets didn't cater to communities of color.
Well, you know, I can't say, because what I can say is that there used to be a cart that used to go down the alley, and there was a vegetable cart that sometimes that came. Now, whether that came from a farmer's market or not, I don't know.
Yeah.
But I know that there was a cart sometime that would come down that you could buy vegetables off of the cart. But as I said, most of the vegetables that we needed to buy, we could buy right at the store, right on the corner.
Sure. Wow. How do, beyond the obvious, how do farmers markets relate to health? I mean, you've been in the health field for decades, and there are obvious similarities and correlations, but today, how vital are farmers markets as they relate to health, and the fact that what we're eating outside of the farmers market and that whole thing, how does that play?
I think it's critical, and let me tell you why. Because the farmers markets, particularly with the farmers that you mentioned at the beginning of the show, being able to have a place to bring the things that they grow.
Sure.
But I think even more importantly, it gives us a source to have extraordinarily fresh produce that we otherwise would not be able to get. Something that hasn't been sitting in a warehouse or in a storage facility or a distribution center for several days in a refrigerated environment, but they come right up off the farm, it's farm to table.
Absolutely.
And we're missing this opportunity to take advantage of freshly grown produce and vegetables that can be eaten right away. That can be prepared and eaten right away, and and getting our children engaged in the whole issue around identifying foods, because nowadays people don't know how to identify it. I grew up, you could lay a turnip green, a mustard green, a collard green, a spinach, all those right in front of me without a label, and I knew what they all were by the green, by looking at the leaf.
And how did that? Were you taught that? Were you out there buying it yourself, going to the store for your parents? How did you get that education?
Because I had to do just what you just said. They send you to the store,
right?
And you over time, because we ate it so much that it was easy to remember what the turnip green looked like, what the mustard green looked like, what the spinach looked like, and those are very different greens, and they're very easy to identify.
Absolutely, and that's one of the things that we're hoping to do this season, is better promote and market the farmers market. We have a public housing development right next door to our church, and I do not think that we are getting the volume of customers that we need there. And so this season we're really doing a lot of outreach. For example, June 19th, Father's Day, we partnered with Real Men Cook, and we hosted a Real Men Cook event on the site of the Lowton Homes family, and it was fantastic. They ate kale, they ate peaches cooked a different way, they ate all kinds of different things, and they enjoyed it. And we wanted that to be kind of like the pre-launch of our farmers market, to get them introduced, because one of the things that we've always said is that we don't want to necessarily take away what you're eating or what you've eaten traditionally, not necessarily in one night, but just to kind of reintroduce what you're eating and maybe see it cooked or prepared a different way that's more healthy, and so that would open the door for more fruits and vegetables instead of it just being just this cold turkey kind of thing.
Well, no, and I think that's a great way to do it. And you have to remember that we're living at a time where so many people have been influenced by fast foods.
Yes.
And that they're not even, we've reset our patience and tolerance levels that we want to get it right away, we want to get it quick, we want to get it without having to put a lot of energy into it. And now you're introducing things where that's not the case, that some things can be eaten raw, salads, but many of those things take time to cook. And then you have to teach people how to cook. And we have to bring back that taste for that, so that you have an appetite for it, so that when the things are made available, they get eaten.
One of the startling discoveries that we had a study done last year of the Washington Heights community, and we found that we were the second highest median aged group in the entire city. I think the average median age is 41 and a half or something like that. And thus we have a number of senior homes. So what we're seeing are a lot of older African Americans in our community that are not taking advantage of the farmers market and the small amount of healthy food in the community. So it's imperative that we get that information to them, because obviously we're living longer, and you know that, but it's the quality of life that we're trying to improve, and that with this nutrition education we can help do that.
Absolutely. And just to, although I grew most of my life up in Inglewood, but I started out right at 95th and Wentworth. So, wow. So there was a little store right on the north side of the street, right just west of Wentworth. It was called Max. And Max was the place we used to go, because Max used to have out in front of it the bushels of the greens, and that's where everybody in the neighborhood went. This was before they built the projects. I went to Drew School right there in that area. And actually Gillespie even before that, because I used to live before. This is before the Dan Ryan was built.
Wow.
So this goes back a ways.
Wow.
Yeah, there used to be homes all where the Dan Ryan Expressway.
Yeah, homes. I saw a picture of that, and it looked unbelievable, because there was no Dan Ryan. There were just more neighborhoods. Right,
more neighborhoods. And all those peoples lost their homes to eminent domain, and they took it to build the expressway. But we used to play in the ditch. But the point, to your point, a lot of people lived in those neighborhoods.
Yes.
And probably many of them still do, or their children still do.
They absolutely do.
And this is why what you're doing is so important, because most of the diseases that we as African Americans are plagued by, the diabetes, the hypertension, the obesity, the cancers, most of those things can be severely reduced by eating the stuff that comes out of a farmer's market.
Absolutely.
And that's why it's critical that this becomes the new pharmacy.
One of the things that, and not to cut you off, but one of the things that you do at our church is your Restart for Life. And it's a fantastic wall-to-wall, jam-packed class every Thursday. And one of the things I heard you say was you're not interested in managing any disease.
Right.
And expound on that just a little bit. Because you don't hear that in this society. Because if you go to any person's house, you'll look on the dressing room table, and there's 10 or 15 different bottles or pills or prescriptions for different things.
Absolutely.
So expound on that just a little bit.
Yeah, well, the thing is that I'm a physician, I was a surgeon, and I was a board-certified urologist practicing in the city of Chicago for about 27 years. And then I decided that I wasn't going to do that anymore. And I decided that because I really wanted now to be a part of how do we do something other than manage disease. Now, what do I mean by that? You have high blood pressure, you go to the doctor puts you on medicine for the blood pressure. It never makes the blood pressure go away, it just brings it down. But the issue is, as soon as you stop taking the medicine, it'll go right back up.
Exactly.
Now, I'm not saying you shouldn't do that. You absolutely should take the medicine. You should absolutely keep your blood pressure controlled. Same thing is true of diabetes. You go to the doctor for your diabetes, you get medication for your diabetes. It manages it as long as it is taken. But when you stop taking it, it'll go, because it didn't go away. So the beautiful thing about food, different than medicine, is that the right food will eliminate it will fix the problem. So you're not managing your disease, you're now actually doing what you need to do to cure your disease. Because most of the diseases that we have are directly related to the foods that we eat or don't eat.
Absolutely.
And the fluids that we drink or don't drink.
Amazing, amazing. And that, I think, if people understood that correlation, and I think when you go to the doctor, you don't get what you just conveyed to me.
No, because first of all, you got to remember, doctors are. I went to medical school, University of Illinois here in Chicago. I spent 4 years in medical school. I have 40 minutes of nutrition in 4 years of education.
40 minutes?
40 minutes, one class. And that's because that's not what the doctors are not taught. Nutrition. That's not what we're taught. So they can't give what they haven't been given. So it's not the doctor's fault. It's just that we haven't done that.
Wow.
So we need to understand that is where we are.
Okay, thank you. We have a caller. Let's see, caller.
Well,
did we lose him?
Put me on. I think I'm on.
Okay,
hello?
Go ahead, caller.
You guys hear me?
Yes.
Awesome. This is a great show, and it's quite timely too. You find out about things in different ways, especially about diet. You could be eating great food and all that stuff, but you could also not be exercising. Everything we do is based on what we bring into our bodies, our abilities, the things we think, and the things we say. And when you combine those two concepts, where you're using food to support your being, and then you're using food to support the way you think and act, I think what the outcome is that we have much more better behaved people. You agree?
Well, there's truth in understanding the role that diet plays in behavior. So to the extent that that's true, you're absolutely right. And right. I think you make a great point too, that we can't leave out moving. Because moving
Absolutely.
is important. We have to move. We don't have to go and start lifting up the whole gym, but we do need to get involved. And strength training, as well as endurance, strength training as well as walking or running, but you need strength training. That is work that puts a resistance against muscles is important too, for men and women.
Yeah, I think that just the activity of the limbs and in general, along with, I always hesitate to use the word diet because I like lifestyle better, because our farmers market exists from July to the end of September, and we certainly, it's September 24th, so September 25th, we don't want folks to go back to whatever lifestyle, that was not necessarily healthy. We want that to permeate throughout, over the life.
And that's why at one of the classes we're going to have, I'm going to have a class on canning.
Okay.
Because, see, when the fruits or the vegetables are available and fresh, we can prepare them in such a way that they can take us through the seasons that they don't grow.
Excellent.
And that's what we used to do. I grew up where we had, my mother, I remember those mason jars.
Oh, yeah.
And those orange labels. Absolutely. And those removable tops. And those big pots where you had to boil all that stuff. But it was important because it was the way you could prepare and have food for the off season.
Sure.
Because what happens in a normal cycle, and Illinois is no different, there is a cycle where you have to prepare your foods, and you can use them for a certain period of time, but then you have to have something later that either you froze it or you canned it, so that you could later eat it. And all of all my aunts and what have you in the South, and I'm sure many of the listeners, they have people that can stuff. They can peaches, and they can pears, and they can apples. They can can greens. You can can all kinds of, and I don't mean can by putting in a can, but the process. The process is what we're talking about.
Absolutely, absolutely. And we're going to do different cooking demonstrations. We're going to do nutrition educations. We have a partnership with UIC, and they're going to come out. They have a smoothie bike that actually, you were talking about younger kids, to come out. It's actually a bike that on the handlebars there's actually a blender, and in order to, you put the ingredients in the blender, and then you got to pedal it, and so you're making your own smoothie, and they're delicious. I have to tell you. And you can exercise at the same time. So it's a wonderful, wonderful opportunity. They're actually going to open at our farmers market this Saturday. So
now, will you be able to accept the double bucks?
Absolutely, absolutely.
Because that is so important for those who have the link cards, or they have whatever, but to get the double bucks. In other words, to buy the vegetables, you'll get more than you normally would get.
Absolutely. And there were actually folks last year that came out from our neighboring communities that knew nothing about that double value. And once they experienced it, they were customers for the rest of the season. And so that's why that gap between that education and understanding, the benefits right here beneath your feet are here, then that's why we're going to be vigilant in promoting this market.
So we take link cards, we take credit cards, we take debit cards, we take cash.
And we take cash. So we absolutely take cash. And once again, that'll be this Saturday, July 9th, from 8 a.m. to 1 p.m. at the corner of 95th and Normal. That's Trinity UCC's Farmers Market. You won't be able to miss us because we're going to be right there on the corner. It's going to be very decorated. I think we've got some Zumba taking place that morning. So it'll be a lot of fun. There'll be music. There'll be festivals. There'll be entertainment. There'll be music. There isn't much that we aren't packing into this particular event. So we're hoping that some of our older customers come, but some new customers and younger folks, because we've got a lot of young volunteers. Great. And if you're interested in volunteering, you can simply call us at 773-966-1590. That's the office of Endeleo. And in the few minutes left, I wanted to just touch base on the commercial corridor. One of the reasons that we're doing this is because a lot of our vendors wouldn't normally have the opportunity to market and sell their goods. So beyond this being a social gathering space, this is an opportunity for vendors to come out, sell their goods without the overhead, and be able to flourish, because our corridor needs development. And we hope that this is a catalyst for economic development along the 95th Street corridor.
Well, I think it's great. I'm always proud of what Trinity does. We do a great job in doing a number of things. We have a wonderful pastor who has vision and leadership that makes certain that we invest in the health of the community, not just its spiritual health, but its mental and its physical health as well.
No question.
And we'll be starting back the classes. We have the next class will be on the second Thursday of this month.
Okay.
The second Thursday, 6:30 at Trinity United Church of Christ.
Absolutely.
6:30, and we start at 6:30. We end at 8.
That is sometimes a little bit past 8,
but most of the time.
But that's because it's so good. That's what you're so awesome, and it's just a wonderful thing. And it will be wonderful because then the market will have started, and so we'll have that kind of like tag team of education and healthy food all within the same week.
And we'll try and get a canning class in either September or early October.
Absolutely.
So we can teach people how to can, because we've forgotten how to do that.
Yeah, I bet you, boy, this new generation, that'll be a complete,
they don't even know what it is.
They don't even know what that is. That'll be a complete culture shock, and it won't involve a microwave. So
and hopefully we can use this show to help show people, little video clips or snippets of how it works.
Absolutely.
So people can see.
Absolutely. So, well, thank you so much, Dr. Mason. I really appreciate it. I'm going to have you back. I'm going to have you back because I know a lot of folks that may not know will find out, and you've got a cult-like following. You know that. So this is Melvin Thompson again with the Endeleo Institute, reminding you that our Trinity Farmers Market at 95th and Normal will begin this Saturday at 8 a.m. to 1 p.m. Come on out and have fun, meet your neighbors, meet new neighbors. Just take advantage of this opportunity to buy fresh, healthy fruits and vegetables in your community, and at the same time improve your health, improve our community, and just be a beacon for the future. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next week.